Last month, KCRW's Young Creators Project accepted visual art submissions from young LA based artists under 21. And this week, we'll be featuring five incredibly talented artists that submitted to the project across our channels. Today, we're featuring Minnie Lerner from Echo Park. Minnie Lerner is a 16-year-old lesbian, artist, poet, DJ, curator, copy editor, zinester, postmodernist, and junior at Polytechnic High School in Pasadena. She collects vintage lingerie and she sometimes makes art with it. Minnie, it's great to have you here with us. Welcome.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here.
Awesome. Well, tell us about the piece that you submitted for KCRW's Young Creators Project and sort of describe what it looks like for people that might not have seen it.
Yeah, so if you haven't seen it, the piece is a corset from the late 1920s. It's hanging behind me right now for people who are watching the video. And essentially, I've destroyed different panels of it, ripped out different pieces between the boning, and then restitched some of it with a thread that's sort of a more neon or brighter pink than the pale pink of the corset. And I made it as one of the 15 pieces in my sustained investigation for AP Art this year. And it deals with a lot. It's a very heavy piece, both physically and in terms of the themes. And yeah, I when I was making it, I was sort of battling anorexia, and it was a particular moment in that struggle that was a really, really difficult one to push through. Physically, it was hard to make the piece. There were, hours I would spend just like trying to like summon the energy to move my arms enough to make the tears that I needed to and sew the stitches that I needed to. And to be honest, I don't remember most of the making of it.
Hmm.
A lot of those pieces are missing, but I remember coming away with something that was alarming, and that made people stop and go like, "What's this about? And what are you trying to tell me?"
So the art piece itself almost became like a means of communication.
Yeah, definitely. And the nature of the disorder is such that anorexics tend to hide so much. There was so much that I was really burying so deep, and that so few people knew. And I think this piece really spoke volumes.
It's so amazing just the power of art, right? And like these objects that just become these tools for communication, but also such kind of pieces of ourselves and kind of how we can really show ourselves to the world in ways that we might not fully even understand how to communicate. It's really powerful and I felt like that came across so well in this piece. It had so much emotion to it. Can you describe what about vintage lingerie and like corsets in particular that you're drawn to and why you wanted to use this corset as a canvas for the piece?
My sustained investigation really started as an exploration of like teenage girlhood and then womanhood and different sort of components and aspects of a femininity that's kind of transitional. And so I guess, yeah, I've always been sort of drawn to like the hyperfemininity of things like corsets and slip dresses, and there's a vintage fur coat hanging above my head
Mm.
right now. Yeah.
Amazing. And then how kind of powerful to see that also crumbling and ripped apart. I mean, I think there's a really poignant message there that is really powerful. That again speaks to gender and kind of femininity and kind of cultural conditioning and all of that. So what's next for you?
Well, I've been working on a lot of different sort of sporadic projects. I had kind of a fervent period of working on my film practice recently, and that kind of culminated with a collection of shorts that I'm kind of leaving, putting aside for now. And lately, I've been doing some pen and ink stuff in a Hebrew English dictionary from 1953 that belonged to my great grandfather, and was passed
Hmm.
down to my grandfather. And I've been doing some work in there with sort of diary-esque drawings, and a lot of with the work of Anais Nin and Sylvia Plath, and kind of channeling those inspirations. So drawing is kind of the next thing. I don't think I'll be embroidering for a while. Honestly, I'm a little bit sick of it.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Switching it up. That's awesome. Yeah. Well, I look forward to seeing how it all comes together, all the different mediums and explorations kind of progress in your work. So Minnie Lerner is a visual artist. She joined us today as part of KCRW's Young Creators Project. You can check out her work at kcrw.com/young creators. Thanks so much for joining us, Minnie. It was great chatting with you.
Thank you so much for having me.